Hello, we're here for a Catalyst Ranch interview with Matt West, Global Head of Training and Facilitation for Golan. Thank you so much for being here, Matt.
Hey, Mark. Thanks a lot.
I'd love to jump right in. In the last conversation, you had mentioned the concept of space, and that people associate space with specific moments. What does that mean in context of facilitators?
Well, if you think about it, when you attend an important meeting or an offsite, whether you realize it or not, you tend to invoke certain memories with where you were at the time that you made the memory. So if you make a decision as a team, notice how, next time you do this, notice how people will actually gesture to either the place where people were standing or someone was taking notes on a flip chart and say, remember that thing? Remember when we talked about this? It's because our minds connect space with memories. It's not just audible and visual. As a facilitator, I'm really mindful of that. So I love to work in places that allow me to create these spatial memories, that allow me to facilitate using the space. And part of the reason I like Catalyst Ranch is because for a lot of the rooms, they're big enough that I can actually have a breakout group work over there, or I can have a difficult conversation over here, and knowing full well that that space will invoke a certain kind of feeling or a memory, and that becomes a milestone.
How do you plan ahead for that? If someone's watching saying, okay, I get it, do you really pick parts of the room and decide this is where the difficult conversations will be, this is where or does it happen organically during the event?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I wish I could say I was that thoughtful, that I was so mindful of beforehand that, you know, this hard conversation is going to happen over here. A lot of it is spontaneous. A lot of it is in the moment. And now that said, I will walk into a room and go, okay, this is the place where we all need to be together. Breakouts are going to go over here. When we do the team building exercise, we're going to go over there. I do put a little bit of thought into that. A lot of it is spontaneous. And when people move around, it also signifies a change of tone. So if we're going down a rabbit hole that we shouldn't be going down, sometimes I'll switch us back by saying, all right, everybody stand up and now let's go over here. And that means, okay, it's time to move on. It's time to refresh. I like to use lunches and breaks to rearrange the room, rearrange the chairs a little bit. Some people don't like that, but in their minds it actually infuses a sense of variety and creativity in the day. And at first it might seem a little unsettling, but by the end of the day, people realize, okay, I was involved, I couldn't disconnect, and I participated, and that's how I like to use space.
Do you put people into groups for that or pair them off, or how does that work?
Yeah, it depends on the size. I mean, if it's a big group, and sometimes I will do big group meetings, then I will put some thought into teams beforehand and make sure that there aren't maybe direct reporting relationships on those groups, make sure I mix up some of the folks who might be seen as a little more creative with some of the pragmatics, that sort of thing. However, same thing, a lot of it is just in the moment. Sometimes I'll pair them up because I know that certain people will work well together because of what I've seen throughout the day. Other times I'll just do the nice count off and get people to pair up themselves. So a lot of it's spontaneous and some of it is thought through beforehand.
And how does the space at Catalyst Ranch really help with that part of it, that blend of organic and spontaneous and planned beforehand?
You know, I can honestly say I have never facilitated a meeting that is so unique as Catalyst Ranch. I mean, there are just nooks and crannies. These are not square rooms that you're working in. There are lots of little seating areas. I love to be able to use those spaces to be able to let people go off and work through things. Some of the kinds of meetings that I'm working through involve very difficult conversations. And to me, that means knowing that I can pull someone aside during the break over there and have a very difficult conversation with them, or to allow breakout groups to break out and honestly have that separation from their boss to be able to come up with new and unique ideas that they might be worried might be outside of the box. Catalyst Ranch allows for all of those things because of the space.
And how about in closing, if there's one thing you want to leave people with space, what would that be about the importance of space?
Yeah, I would say whether you do a meeting at Catalyst Ranch or anywhere else, it really doesn't matter. Make sure you as the facilitator are able to get into the room beforehand. Feel out the space a little bit. Get to know To use a horrible phrase, kind of the feng shui of the room. If it's going to be a conference room with a huge conference table, you might figure out how you can arrange those chairs in a way that it doesn't seem so separate or formal. Try to break open spaces. If people don't need a table in front of them, get rid of the tables, that sort of thing. Just get in the room beforehand, think about your day, go through the agenda in your mind, and consider how space will help you to reinforce some of the objectives that you're hoping you hit that day.
That is a perfect way to close out. Thank you so much for the time today, Matt.
Thanks, Mark.